Have you ever looked back at a week, a month, even a whole year and thought, where did the time go? Maybe you had big plans to get healthier, pick up a new hobby, or finally tackle that project that's been sitting on your mind for too long. But somehow, life just kept happening. Work, family, stress, distractions, they all piled up, and suddenly, it feels like nothing really changed. If that sounds familiar, you're definitely not alone. And the good news? It doesn't have to stay that way. Today, I want to talk about a simple but powerful idea that can truly change your life, no matter where you're starting from. It's not about making huge, overwhelming changes. It's not about waking up tomorrow and being a completely different person. It's about improving yourself just 1% every single day. Tiny improvements that, over time, stack up to something incredible. And the best part, anyone can do it, no matter your age, your past, or your current circumstances. In this video, we're going to explore how you can start using the 1% rule to make real, lasting changes in your life. We'll talk about small habits, easy mindset shifts, and practical steps you can start today to move closer to the person you want to be. So, let's dive in, and let's keep it simple, practical, and honest. Think about it like this. Imagine you decided to get just a little bit better at something every day. Not a lot, just a little. Maybe you spend 5 extra minutes stretching in the morning. Maybe you swap one unhealthy snack for something better. Maybe you take a moment to pause and really listen when someone's talking to you, instead of rushing for the conversation. None of these things seem life-changing on their own, right? But when you add them up over days, weeks, and months, they create a ripple effect that's hard to ignore. Let's start with the first simple shift, the power of small wins. Every day, our brains are wired to look for progress. When you accomplish something, even something tiny, your brain releases dopamine, the chemical that makes you feel good, motivated, and eager to keep going. The trouble is, we often set the bar way too high. We tell ourselves, I'm going to lose 30 pounds by summer, or I'm going to write a whole novel this year. And when we stumble or miss a day, it feels like failure. So we quit. But what if instead, you celebrated the tiniest of victories, like getting out for a 10-minute walk, choosing water over soda, waking up just 10 minutes earlier to enjoy some quiet time before the day starts. When you start stacking up these tiny wins, you build momentum. You start to see yourself differently, not as someone who tries and fails, but as someone who shows up, even in small ways. And that shift in identity, that's where the real magic happens. Now, once you start collecting small wins, the next piece is learning how to embrace the boring. I know, it doesn't sound very exciting. We all love the idea of breakthroughs and aha moments, those big, cinematic scenes where everything changes. But real growth, it often looks a lot more like showing up for the little things, day after day, when no one's watching. It's in doing the basic stretches, even when you don't feel like it. Choosing a healthy dinner, even when a pizza would be easier. Reading a few pages of a good book instead of scrolling on your phone. The day-to-day actions that seem almost too small to matter are exactly the ones that build the strongest foundation over time. If you can find a way to love the process, to love the quiet consistency, you'll be amazed at how far you can go. It's not flashy, it's not fast, but it's real, and it lasts. I'll tell you a quick story. A friend of mine decided he wanted to get back into shape after turning 45. At first, he had these grand plans. Intense workouts, strict diets, total overhaul. But every time he tried, he burned out within a few weeks. Finally, he decided to do just one thing. Walk for 10 minutes a day. That's it. No pressure to run marathons. No fancy gym membership. Just lace up his sneakers and walk. Some days he did more. Some days he barely squeezed it in. But he kept the promise to himself. A year later, not only had he lost weight and gained energy, but he had also built a deep trust in himself. He became the kind of person who could set a goal and stick to it. And it all started with those simple, boring 10-minute walks. Now that we've talked about the importance of small wins and embracing the boring, let's move on to something just as powerful. Something that can either be your greatest asset or your biggest hurdle, your environment. Your environment has a way of shaping your behavior. often without you even realizing it. Think about it. If your kitchen counter is filled with chips and cookies, what are you more likely to reach for when you're hungry? If your living room has a cozy spot with a stack of good books nearby, how much easier does it become to read instead of getting lost in TV shows you're not even really watching? The truth is, we like to believe we have endless willpower, but the reality is that environment usually wins. If you want to make improving yourself 1% every day easier, setting up an environment that supports your goals is one of the smartest moves you can make. And it doesn't have to be complicated. If you want to be more active, lay out your workout clothes the night before. Make it as easy as possible to just get up and move. If you want to eat better, stock your fridge and pantry with choices that you won't regret later. If you're trying to build a new habit, like journaling or meditation, keep your notebook or cushion somewhere you'll see it often. Little things, small nudges in the right direction, can make a huge difference when you add them up over time. Sometimes, improving your environment also means looking at the people you spend the most time with. It's been said that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around. And while that might not be an exact science, there's some truth to it. If you're around people who are constantly negative, who mock your efforts to change, or who encourage habits you're trying to move away from, it's going to feel like walking upstream every day. On the other hand, if you spend time with people who are supportive, positive, and growing themselves, you'll find it so much easier to stay on track. And no, you don't have to cut everyone out of your life or make dramatic announcements. Sometimes it's just about being mindful of where your energy goes. Maybe you make a little more room for the relationships that uplift you, and set a few gentle boundaries with the ones that drain you. Protect your environment because it protects your progress. Now, once you start creating the right environment, another beautiful thing happens. You begin to build what I like to call identity habits. These are small actions that reinforce the person you want to become, not just what you want to achieve. See, a lot of people focus only on goals. I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to save $5,000. I want to learn to play the guitar. And goals are great, don't get me wrong, but they're like checkpoints. Once you reach them, what keeps you going? That's where identity comes in. When you start thinking, I'm the kind of person who takes care of my health, or I'm the kind of person who manages my money wisely, or I'm someone who learns new things, you're no longer just chasing a goal, you're living a lifestyle. And that's where the 1% improvements really start to snowball. Every time you take a small action, every time you choose a healthy snack, or set aside a little savings, or practice a few chords, you're casting a vote for the kind of person you want to be. It doesn't matter if the action feels tiny. It's a vote, and the more votes you cast, the stronger that identity becomes. Imagine this like building a brick wall. Every tiny action you take is a brick. 1 brick doesn't look like much. 2 bricks still aren't impressive, but keep laying those bricks patiently, day after day, and soon you have a solid, sturdy wall, something you can lean on, something that protects and supports you. One of my favorite things about identity habits is how forgiving they are. Because here's the truth, you're going to miss a day. You're going to slip up. You're human. But when your focus is on the kind of person you're becoming, not just on hitting a perfect streak, it's so much easier to pick yourself up and keep going. You don't throw away the whole wall because 1 brick got misplaced. You just keep building. And speaking of forgiving yourself, that brings us to another important piece of improving yourself 1% every day. Compassion over criticism. So many of us grew up believing that if we just beat ourselves up hard enough, we'd finally change. If we felt bad enough, guilty enough, ashamed enough, that would somehow light a fire under us. But how often has that really worked? Think about the times you've made a mistake. Maybe you skipped a workout. Maybe you broke a promise to yourself. Maybe you gave into a bad habit. Did criticizing yourself, calling yourself lazy or weak, really make it easier to get back on track? Or did it make you feel worse and even less motivated to try again? When you treat yourself with kindness and patience, the same way you would treat a close friend who's struggling, you create an environment where growth can actually happen. Instead of being stuck in shame, you can say, okay, that wasn't my best moment, but I'm learning, I'm growing, let's get back to it. Self-compassion doesn't mean letting yourself off the hook. It means recognizing that improvement is a journey, not a punishment. It means understanding that mistakes are part of the process, not proof that you're failing. And when you approach growth with a kind heart, you'll find yourself willing to keep showing up, even on the tough days. Now that we've explored the power of environment, identity habits, and compassion, let's keep building that momentum with something that ties it all together beautifully. The magic of consistency, even when it's imperfect.